Pardon my voice, I almost lost it. I'm kind of squeaky. Okay, selecting seeds to plant. Seeds sold in packages should show the crop, the cultivar, the germination percentage, and any chemical seed treatments, if any. Seeds should be kept dry and cool to ensure good germination. What is an heirloom and what is organic? Well, an heirloom is a variety that must be open pollinated or pollinated by insects, birds, wind, and they breed true, or they keep the original traits, like we call, from the mother plant. Organic refers to how the seeds are grown. They must be grown according to the guidelines of the USDA's National Organic Program. In many cases, heirlooms do not meet the guidelines because they are grown by small-scale gardeners who have adapted organic practices. The USDA defines organic as items grown and produced without the use of chemical pesticides, herbicides, and other prohibited substances. It must not contain genetically engineered traits. Does organically grown mean non-GMO? Yes. Any seed or plant material labeled certified organic cannot contain GMOs. And just in case you don't know what that means, is genetically modified. Hybrid versus open pollinated or heirloom seeds. Many new vegetable and flower seeds are hybrids. Hybrid seed often costs more than the seed of a non-hybrid cultivar. A cultivar is a type of cultivated plant that people have selected for desired traits. When propagated, they retain the traits of the parent plant. If the cultivar is over 50 years old, it is an heirloom. How many is over 50 years today? A lot of heirlooms in here. Hybrids are developed from two different parent plants to create a new plant which will not produce seed that has the same traits. And you do not know what you will get. So seed from hybrid plants should not be saved, especially for when you're gardening and you're depending on that food, if you're doing a vegetable garden. If you want to experiment with flowers, it really doesn't matter. But when you're talking about food, that's important. You should not save seed from plants that are easily cross-pollinated, such as corn, squash, and pumpkins. Do not save seed from diseased plants also. That makes sense, doesn't it? Seed may carry viruses and other diseases into the next season. So be careful what you say. Only save seed from healthy plants. And I've got a case in point here about hybrid. One time we went on a tour of the Oliver Winery, and they had these. They were called Zowie zinnias, and they were just little short zinnias, but they if you know what a blanket flower looks like, they looked almost like a blanket flower. They were 2 or 3 colors of orange and brown, and they were real pretty. Well, I found some seeds, so I just stuck them in my pocket, and I took them home, and I thought, I'm going to try those. Well, I tried them, and the next year, I had orange zinnias, the regular type. I had Pepto-Bismol pink zinnias, the regular type. And then I had some of them that were Zowies, the little ones. But that's case in point. You never know what you're going to get when it's a hybrid. Keeps us on our toes.
Okay, when y'all are picking up the pamphlets, you should have said, did you get a seat to cut in?
I think it does.
So we're going to talk about one starting your seeds, it's always good to refer to your seed packets. So it will tell you if you need to start it indoors or that you need to seed it outdoors. It tells you, a lot of them tells you the germination time, how long it will take your seed to germinate. It also, some of them have the germination rate, how many seeds in your package should germinate.
Make sure when you hold it, you do that.
Okay.
I could tell.
So, you know, but some of them, don't worry, all your packets aren't going to have that information. One seed company that I like to use is Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. It always has the germination rate on there. How many of those seeds are expected to germinate? It also tells you the timing for when to plant your seed, how many, if you're going to start it indoors, how many days before the last spring frost you should start your seed if you're going to be able to transplant them outside. And it also tells you the water needs, usually. Now this one, can you tell me how long will it take these to sprout if you plant them? 10 to 15 days. How deep should you plant them? And if you're planting them into the garden, if you're transplanting them into the garden, how far apart do your plants need to be? 18 inches. These have a lot of information on them. So the Purdue Extension publication, HO, I didn't touch it. I didn't touch it. Just here.
Let's just want to see if this is working.
Yeah.
This is a little clearer?
Yeah. Is it just cut off on that? It must be cut, not Okay, this pamphlet here, there is a chart in here that gives you the estimated last spring frost and also the estimated first fall frost for Indiana. Let me see here. So for Vincennes and most of Knox County, the last spring frost is April 3rd to April 9th. So that's how you determine when to start your seeds. And some seeds require special preparation to ensure good germination. And you need to follow the recommendation on the seed packets. These seeds evidently don't require anything. So if they do require the temperature to be 75 to 95, so you might want to start them inside. You might put them out in the garden and wait for the soil temperature to get that high. You're going to be waiting a long time. These are going to need to be started indoors. But some things you can do to help your seeds is scarification, soaking, and stratification. Scarification is a process that involves weakening or altering the seed's coat to accelerate germination. The most common method is mechanical scarification, which you can do by rubbing with sandpaper, a metal file, or nick it with a knife, just something to break that hard outer shell of the seed so that it can help it germinate. And then that's usually followed by soaking your seed in water. And soaking is one of the oldest methods to increase seed germination. You can soak many seeds up to 12 to 24 hours before planting, but you want to plant immediately after soaking. After you soak them, you don't want to let them dry out before you get them planted. Stratification is the process of stimulating and chilling and warming that seeds would endure if they were left outdoors for the winter. And native seeds and many perennials require stratification. They have to go through that artificial winter in order to germinate. When should I start my seeds? This chart is also found in this publication. This is adapted from a bigger chart in here. This is just a few of the things. But it has in here, you can see broccoli, cabbage, head lettuce. You would want to start them 10 weeks before your last spring frost. So that's like 2.5 months. It's time to start those, getting close. Tomato, eggplant, and peppers. You want to start them 7 weeks before the last spring frost. And cantaloupe, squash, and watermelon, 4 weeks before your last spring frost to give them a good head start.
I would suggest that you get a calendar that you can just have specifically for your gardening, and then you can just mark it all up, and you can know when you start a certain seed or your plant.
And once you get your garden plan, you know what you want to plant and your seeds, just go ahead and look at when you need to start those inside if you want to get them started.
She's got to touch on this other here. I put feeding on it. Okay, containers for sowing seed. Well, this is like, okay, you can use just about anything. I used to work up at the ISU greenhouse up at Terre Haute, and we used a lot of wooden flats because they were doing a lot of the same kind of plants. So it just all depends. But you've got fiber trays, we've got all kinds of things setting out here. Clay and plastic pots, peat pots, the compressed peat pellets that you have to soak, and then they stretch and get all, they get all swollen up, and then you can use them. And, plastic flats, packs and plugs, all kinds of different things, yeah.
Yogurt containers, they make great seed starting containers.
Oh, yes.
You can actually poke holes in the bottom and use some lid to help keep discussing.
Yeah, I even start my leek seed in a clear loose cup, a big cup, because you put in like 100 seeds in a little cup, and they're just hairs when they come up, and so a big cup helps hold the greenery, to make it stand up.
Maybe in jars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Actually, if you want to start orchid seed, they can take up to a year to germinate. So people will take baby food jars, put their soil mixture in the baby food jar, sterilize it in a pressure cooker so that it's really sterile, and then open the jar, inoculate it with whatever fungus helps the orchid seed grow, seed it with the orchid seed, close it back up, and leave it setting somewhere for a year.
That's vicious.
Yeah, that's dedication. You want to show them your tray there?
Oh, yeah.
I have never seen these kind of trays.
Oh, yeah. I love this. I actually, during the pandemic, 2020, it was kind of hard to find seeds, and it was hard to find seed starting supplies, and I needed some new stuff. And I found this at Tractor Supply, and I love it. It's made by Burby, but these are silicone. This has been used multiple times and even left outside all summer and fall for the last 2 years, and it looks like brand new. And all I did was wash it out with soap and water and then run it through the dishwasher. It will hold up to the heat in the dishwasher. So
I got mine on Amazon. Delivered.
it might cost a little bit more as a upfront, but as long as they last. durable as they are, in the long run, you're going to be spending less money.
We do have that handout that is by Shelley Stonebrook, the gardening editor of Mother Earth News, and there's all kinds of ideas in there, especially for, finding a place in your home that is, I stopped at just a little square seat up in the top, a little seedling, but some clever ideas in there, so we're not going to go into it anymore. You could take it home and enjoy looking at that. Okay, soil mixes. Another growing media. Vermiculite, synthetic mixes, which is no soil. Then you have a soil vermiculite mix, you've got a soil peat sand mix, milled sponge moss, of course, it's been run through a mill that makes it, shreds it more so it's finer, and then layered mixes. There is definitely a difference between potting soil and seed starting mix. Soil and seed starting mixes have a finer texture and are made from ingredients such as milled peat moss, perlite, coconut coir fiber, and vermiculite. Potting soils have a coarser texture and may contain field soil, compost or composted manure, along with vermiculite, peat moss, or perlite. Some seed starting or potting mixes may contain added fertilizer, so you need to be sure to read the package. Sterilizing mixes and containers. If garden is just regular, you just go out to your garden and you dig up some soil. If it's used, you should sterilize it to guard against any damping off or other plant diseases. Containers should be washed in soapy water to remove dirt and debris, and then rinse in a solution of 1 part chlorine bleach to 10 parts of water. And then you just let them lay out in the sun to dry. Many seeds are pre-treated with a fungicide to prevent fungal disease, such as damping off, and you should wear gloves when handling that fungicide. Sterilizing garden soil also kills any weed seeds that's in your soil. And examples of seeds that may be treated with a fungicide are corn and beans. Have you ever seen the corn pink? Because it's got a pink powder on it. That's what that is.
So, how many of y'all buy plants at the garden center? So I save my containers when I do that. So it's really important to sterilize your container if you're going to be using it to start seeds. Because you will get diseases if you don't sterilize. But it's perfectly fine to save them and reuse them. So you don't have to go buy new ones.
Yeah, I have about 3 people that drop things on my front porch. I'll get a bag of pots. Of course, they're dirty. I have to wash them, but I'm glad to get them.
So you talk about sterilizing the containers. How do you sterilize soil?
I'm trying to remember, if you take your soil and put it in like a pan and put it in the oven and heat it to like 150 degrees. Yeah, I think it's 150. I can look that up and get it to you, but I think it's 150 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll sterilize the soil. It'll also kill any weed seeds that might be in that soil. Now we go to seeding. Now you've got your seeds, you've decided what seeds you want to plant, you've got the container you're going to plant it in, and you know what kind of potting soil, what kind of soil starting or seed starting mix you're going to use. So the first thing you want to do is you want to moisten the planting mixture. A lot of times people, I think that's a mistake a lot of beginning gardeners use, is they take the mix right out of the package, fill their container, and then try to plant their seeds in it. Well, it won't take the water. It is so dry, the water just sets on the surface. You can't get the water to go down in there. So you really need to take your seed starting mix, put it in a bucket, add water to it until you get it nice and moist, and then fill your container.
And how long did this take?
That took like a half an hour or didn't it?
You probably did this, which is
When-
it took quite a while to get it to soak it up.
Yeah, it takes a while. You want to do that ahead of time and let it really soak up as much water as it's going to soak up. We brought in a sample of the dry seeding mix and how wet it should be, so you know how it should feel when you get ready to put it in your container and start your seeds. Then you want to fill your container with moist soil to 3/4 of an inch with your chosen planting mixture. Level and gently firm the mixture. Plant to the recommended depth. And where you can get your recommended depth? From the seed package. They'll tell you. And then if you're using seed that you saved and you don't know what the recommended depth is, it's usually about 2 times the width of the seed. So how wide, like a pea is about this wide, so they're going to go down 2 times that width. Label immediately, and then cover the seed with more planting mixture. So, next. What about it?
Planting too deep.
Oh, yeah, that's some of the other mistakes that gardeners usually make is planting the seeds too deep, watering them too much, and not knowing what the plant needs, what growing conditions your plant needs. Okay, so then after you've gotten seeded, you want to moisten the surface. You want to keep it moist with like 5 minutes. One of those bottles like Terry had is really good for like misting the surface of the soil and keeping it good and moist. And then you want to cover it with a dome. Some of those seed starting trays come with domes that fit the trays, or you can just use saran wrap and cover your tray with saran wrap. Some people, if you have glass, a sheet of glass, it's, a bit over it.
Yeah, window pane,
Window pane.
cover it in so you don't cut yourself, cover it with tape. It works
Yeah.
great, or a piece of plexiglass.
Yeah. So you want to cover it and then place the seeds in a warm location for germination. And a lot of seeds need 65 to 75 degrees to germinate. And do not place your containers in direct sunlight. Really, most seeds do not need light to germinate. They don't have to have light at this point. So I've also got, for like tomatoes and peppers, they like it warm. So I usually use a seed starting mat with my tomato and pepper seeds. And I brought one here and I plugged it in, so afterwards you all want to come up and feel how warm it is. If you don't